Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to Journey to Wholeness Radio on IntellectualRadio.com. I am KJ Davis and this afternoon's host. I would like to thank you all for tuning in this afternoon. Before we begin today's show, I want to send out a shout out to my oldest, one of the loves of my life, my oldest son, Christian Davis. Today is his 16th birthday. So happy birthday, baby. Mommy loves you. And I am dedicating this show to my son, Christian. So with that said, let's get started. So today's topic, gather the women, save the world. This is a very crucial topic. It's a very crucial area of discussion as we begin to talk about the shifts in consciousness that are currently taking place on the planet based upon a lot of the shifts that are occurring, planetary shifts as well as universal shifts. And you guys have seen it, noticed it, can feel it all around you. But I'll go into more details with what those shifts and those cycles have brought about and will continue to bring about, and the role that women in particularly play in making those shifts happen into our new age. So first, let's talk about those shifts. So a lot of people who read a lot or study a lot or have even listened to various spiritual teachers or intellectual teachers have been talking about this over the last few years. If you guys can recall, back in 2012, the year 2012 ended a major cycle, a major planetary cycle. And during the end of that year, it was a lot of speculation, or people were like, oh, because the Mayan calendar said that all existence was coming to an end at the end of 2012. And, so if you guys recall, back in 2012, right as we were towards near the end of that year, it was a lot of talk about the world coming to the end. There were a lot of prophecies done years and years and years ago, hundreds and thousands of years ago, about 2012 and what's going to happen in 2012. But what actually happened in 2012 is that it was just the end of a cycle, a planetary cycle. So every 26,000 years, we're moving into a new age, a new cycle, and it goes according, if you are into planets and a little bit about astrology, but it moves into the 12 signs or the 12 houses of each sign, and each one has a 2,000-year span. So the reason that that's very important and very critical is because those are the things that tend to dictate how we see ourselves in the world and how the world sees us. So the last 2,000-year cycle was the Pisces age. And during that age, it really was all about establishing belief systems. So over the last 2,000 years, prior all the way up to 2012, it was always about finding a spiritual basis, a religious belief. It was about our political system and creating a political structure where we had politicians that we believed in. We had, as I said, spiritual leaders that we believed in. It was structuring our own individual systems within our household structures. It was very focused on a hierarchy structure. It was very much so about who was in charge, who was the leader, who was up under the leader, who was the boss, who was subservient to who, etc. So it was really, really based on hierarchies. And even our family structures were very hierarchical, where we had the man as the head of the household, the woman supported the man, you had the children. So everything was around structure, hierarchies, and a belief system. So everything that our parents taught us were the same things that we believed in. Everything that our religious leaders and teachers taught us was what we were born to believe in. It was a period of strict traditions where we did things just because we've always done these things. Okay, so that age has ended, and that ended in 2012. So now what we're experiencing is a transition into the Aquarian age. So right now, although it doesn't feel like it, and I say this a lot on the show, I know it doesn't feel like it all the time, but the Aquarian age is really an age of love. It is an age of peace. It is an age of understanding, um, and mainly information. And you can really see that around you. Everything is about information. But see, the ability or the idea of obtaining this information really is for empowerment. It is so now you can shift your ideology, your education, your experiences. You can begin to shift those things internally because you can find and gather that information for yourself. You don't have to have a leader, a teacher, a preacher, or someone feeding you information. Now you're able to get that information on your own. So the other thing that we have to keep in mind about the age of Aquarius is it really is about peace, love, equality, information, and acceptance. So that is the period, that is the cycle that we're in. We're in a cycle where people are now starting to create their own belief systems. And their belief systems are no longer based upon what their parents told them things had to be, what society, what government, what political structures. All of those things are starting to fall by the wayside. And you can see that in everyday life. If you look at the political arena right now, it's almost a joke. It really is. And right before your eyes, you can see the whole basis of our political systems crumbling right from up under us, with the greed, with the control, with the power, with people trusting the public, trusting these politicians to do something and to make changes in their communities, and all they're doing is pocketed money. And big business has really taken over everything. It's always about who has the most money, the most power, the most control. So what's happening right now as we transition to the Aquarius age, as you can see, those are two totally, the Pisces age, Aquarius age, two totally different cycles. So there are there are a lot of people who want to hold on to the way that things were done in the past. You have those people who want to keep America great based upon the past, based upon past structures of power, based upon past structures of hierarchy, based upon past belief systems. And all of those things are crumbling by the wayside. And then you have the millennials who don't give a flying flute about structure, about what it is that society tells them they're supposed to do. They do things however they want to do it. They fly off the handle. It's all about me, me, me. So you can begin to see what's happening and with these shifts. And right now, the reason why it's so bad, as I said before, is because people want to hold on to that old dynamic. They want to hold on to that old feeling of power, of I'm a man, so I'm superior. I'm the pope, so I'm superior. So people want to hold on to these structures, and they're really crumbling by the wayside. So that's why you see so much chaos and so much turmoil in the world today. So what does that look like from an external standpoint? So now the focus really for most individuals who are readily and opening up to transitioning to this new age is there is no longer a focus or a look for leadership. What you see now is people becoming their own leaders, people having their own voice. So Alice Walker said a beautiful quote: we must become the change we want to see in the world. And you're starting to see that. You are starting to see individuals not leaning or not looking to others outside of themselves to be able to exert their own personal power. Okay. This whole age is really about personal acceptance of who you are as a whole person, and more so than that, this is an age of truth. So we can no longer hide behind the lies that we have been told for the last 2,000 years to kind of keep us in our places. And this is across the board to keep us in our little comfortable political places, to keep us separated by politics, to keep us separated by religion, to keep us separated by culture, by racism, all of those old belief systems and structures. We are starting to realize that we don't really need political leaders. We don't need religious leaders and teachers to tell us what our truth is. That we now have the tools and the skills to go within, to research, to get our own information, to make our own judgments, to determine what works for us and not what somebody told us should work for us, not what our parents have instilled in us based upon their limited knowledge and their limited understanding and their limited ability to be in a place of freedom versus fear. So, what does that look like for the individual that is really ready to accept that we're moving into a new age, be able to open up to the knowledge and wisdom that resides within them, they become that leader. They become that change. So that's where we're at, and you're seeing a lot of that manifest really on both a personal individual level as well as a collective conscious level. So individually, the way that's showing up is that you are finding more people looking for opportunities to learn more about themselves, more people taking opportunities to do things that honor them, looking into self-improvement, reading more self-healing books and guides, getting into holistic healing and wellness, doing yoga, meditating, praying, um, thinking about nutrition and healthy ways of living. So globally, what these things are creating really is a more peaceful existence, not only for us individually, but for us collectively. Because as I've talked about a lot of times on this show, we are truly energetic beings. So when we can raise our own personal vibration based upon love, light, healing, clearing our emotional blocks, then that elevates every single person around us. And then that elevates the next person, and so on and so forth. So it begins to catch on at a more global level. So what you're seeing and will continue to see is more peace, more acceptance, more changes with human rights, civil rights, and some of those things are starting to come about. And yes, it is slow. Change has been slow. And we will probably see more of the resistance. I call it the resistance, the people who don't want to let go of the old structures, old hierarchies, etc. So there will still continue to be turmoil and change and chaos. But after everything, all of that darkness begins to bubble to the top, then it will be replaced by light, because that is the age that we're in now. This age is going to last another 2,000 years. So it is a very long cycle. So now is the time to really begin to open up to your personal awareness and open up to your personal truth. So now, as I transition, the reason why I talked about all of that is because, as I said, this is an age of truth and of knowledge and of information and of wisdom. So as we begin to understand what's going on around us on a global level, on an energetic level, we can begin to look at our own belief systems and our own structures and see what it is that we can do to continue to usher in the change for the new age and to continue to change our lives individually and collectively. So if we think back over to the age of Pisces and over the last 2,000 years, we've made some pretty darn bad decisions in the way that we have allocated resources and the way that we have treated each other in terms of humanity and wars and poverty and lack of resources, and really have literally been destroying the planet. One of the causes for that is that our society over the last 2,000 years have been extremely, not extremely, it's been a patriarchal society, one that is really ruled by men. And we say all the time that men rule the world, which is true. Over the last 2,000 years, men have ruled the world. The thing that we have to keep in mind is in men ruling the world, they don't tend to have that same, I would say, compassion gene, that same heart gene, that same love gene that women do when it comes time to really nurture and care. And what unfortunately what women have done was agree to take the back seat and allow men to rule the world. So, and basically collectively, and there are some women, granted, that are really in a place of power. And I'm not saying the place of power of trying to be like a man, a place of power in truly using their divine feminine energy to be able to create, to nourish, to raise beautiful children, to maintain a beautiful home, maintain a beautiful household, go to work, provide, all of that great stuff. So if you are a woman and you are doing those things and contributing to your community and your society, then I am not referring this to you at this time, although I need everyone to listen up. This is not a discussion just based upon women and men. This is really all about the feminine divine energy and the masculine energy. And everybody has it. Okay, everybody has a combination of the two, but of course the woman is the feminine divine in flesh and presence. So over the last 2,000 years, women really have given in um, to their own objectification of them only being good for procreating, cooking, cleaning, and really supporting their men and their agendas. Most men, the masculine energy, that agenda tends to really be fight or flight, competition, power, war, because that is their DNA. I mean, and it's nothing wrong with that, because as I get into a little bit more specifics, you'll see where the masculine and the divine feminine energy have to coexist. They're one, they're combined into one, so they have to coexist, but there has to be a balance. And over the last 2,000 years, we've experienced an extreme imbalance of masculine energy, and as a direct result, we have what we have now. We have the wars, we have the planet in disarray, we have lack, we have poverty, we have all types of things that the divine feminine energy wouldn't allow, and I'll talk about that shortly. So let's get back to women. Women over the last 2,000 years really have relinquished all accountability in creating a better planet for future generations, and really have taken a back seat and left it up to the men. A lot of women have also relinquished accountability of raising and being present for their children. So the woman and the feminine energy is the energy that nurtures, that is the caregiver, that feeds the baby, that is the creator. The feminine, divine feminine energy is the creator. We create life. They're the creator. Managers, also the managers of the resources. So women are very powerful, but they've decided to take a back seat. They're the ones that feed the kids. So when we talk about the divine feminine energy and the power in the woman, if you think about the fact that in a microcosm within your household. That woman is the person who makes sure that everything is running smoothly. That is the person who makes sure that the husband is fed, the children are fed. I mean, typically, when you think about the woman's role, I'm not going to say that pertains to every single household, but when you think traditionally of what women do in the microcosm of life, that they are the ones who are the nurturers, the caregivers, the feeders, etc. So if you think about it in a macro state, if women took their power and worked together with men to create and nurture and feed, there would not be a hungry baby on the planet. It wouldn't be about, oh, you don't have money, you don't eat. If you think about a household of the traditional woman, when she feeds her baby, everybody eats. She don't say, oh, I'm only going to feed this child. I'm only going to feed that child. In fact, not only do all the children and the husband eat, if it's other children in that house, she going to feed them too. I know so many times when I take my baby, I may take him to his friend Trey house. I say, Dana, Kevin ain't ate yet. Girl, bring him on. I'm going to feed. You know, it's just whatever we have, we going to feed the babies. we going to take care of the babies. So that's her number one priority, is to nurture and to feed the babies. So there would be no hungry kids on the planet left up to the power and that divine feminine energy to be able to really rise to the top and be able to take care of this planet. So that's going to be part of the transition, and that's going to be part of the role and responsibility of the woman to really take back her power and to create a better planet for future generations. So, in order to do that, well, even before I get to that, I was in I went into meditation this morning. Actually, I'll take a step back. And what made me come up with this topic is I really didn't have anything to talk about. I thought I was going to have a guest today, didn't. And so I was in the car. Okay, what do I want to talk about? And the thought just instantly came to me in terms of the divine feminine, women, really, really focusing on women. So I went into meditation this morning, and I just want to share with you, when I meditate and I receive messages in meditation, I write them down. So I just want to share with you what came to me in regards to the topic, Gather the Women. Okay. The female principle or energy. And once again, this is energy. This is not a bash against men or women at all. So I just really want you to listen. The female principle or energy is the true God creator source. It is the energy of creation. The masculine energy is the protector of creation. See, everyone has a balance of energy. It is the masculine energy that protects that household. It protects the woman. It protects the babies. It allows that woman to create and nurture and provide and do what she needs to do for the family. And the masculine energy, is the protector. It keeps all creation free from harm. It is the divine feminine energy that nurtures, sustains, feeds, grow, love, organize, structure, and manage the resources of the planet. As I said before, when you think about the microcosm, it's the woman. A lot of men come home, they give that woman that paycheck because they know they're going to spend that money, so they give her that paycheck, baby. You pay the bills and you take care of this and you take care of that. She manages the resources, okay? The masculine energy is there to protect. He protects that woman at all costs. And we have gotten that so backwards over the last 2,000 years that men, they degrade women now. They don't protect women. They don't protect the household. They leave the household. So they leave those babies to be subjugated to any and all types of negative influences because they're not present. The heart, the heart in the man is not fully developed as it is in the woman, and it is so by design. That is not his role. So women, when you say, oh, my man, he don't talk to me, my man, he don't nurture me, my man, that is not by design. That masculine energy, men carry a little bit of feminine energy, but they carry more masculine energy, which is the reason why they're men. And by design, that is by design. They're there to protect you. They're there to support you from a masculine standpoint. So even though they may not get all emotional and stuff, they are still there in a different way, in a different role. So as this is coming to me, I'm going to share this with you guys too, because as I'm getting this download of information, I said, well, you know what? I don't want to turn my male audience off, and, because men are so quick to think that all women do is bash, and it's not really about bashing. And what came to me was speak your truth. The world needs to hear truth. Lies have permeated the conscious mind for far too long. The power of the planet must shift back to the goddess, divine feminine energy, if it is going to survive. The man must protect and support this cause if this planet is going to survive. So it's definitely a joint effort. It's not one-sided at all. It is mandatory, a call to action for all women to gather and seek their personal power. Once their personal power has been reclaimed, they must gather as one and implement change within their households, community, governments, and globally. Women from all over the world must partner as one to receive the higher divine goddess energy and use that energy to change the planet. This is the only way that healing will occur. Men must not be jealous or envious of their mission. It is for their survival as well. We don't get through it unless we get through it together. This is a message that must be shared. If you gather the women in their power, you will change the world. For me personally, this is my mission, my purpose, my calling, and we must heal our women. Our women are so steeped in fear. They are steeped in heartbreak and heartache and emotional blocks. So it's hard for them for you to even envision or visualize a woman coming to a place of power. She first has to empower herself before she can do anything to heal the planet. So there are a lot of women out there really, really struggling and in a place of pain and fear. So we must free ourselves from our mental, emotional, and physical bondage, because that's what it equates to. We are really in a place of mental, emotional, and physical bondage. What's gotten us there? I would say no matter what has gotten us there, daddy issues, mama issues, abandonment issues, abuse issues, bad relationships, death, carrying the weight. Women tend to carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. And that has traditionally been the case. It is still the case to this day. So now it is time for us to get really clear about our own personal power and the power that we have to heal and empower ourselves to heal. Because we have work to do. We have a mission to do, but we can't get to that work and that mission to bring the light in to help change and transition us to a new age if we're still holding on to all of these past hurts, dramas, and traumas. Don't get me wrong, everybody has a right to feel however they feel, but we have to learn how to let it go. Okay? How do we let it go? There are so many tools and techniques that we can employ in our lives, and I talk about them every week. Coming to the Journey to Wholeness Center and working with individual practitioners. If that's not your cup of tea, figure out what is your cup of tea. It could be just going for a walk in nature. It could be just taking 30 minutes a day for yourself. But we have to do that work to clear ourselves, because we can't help our men and we can't help our children and we can't help the planet if we're still living in a state of dysfunction. A lot of times women, and another thing we need to do is just really start being accountable for our choices and our decisions. So a lot of times we blame external circumstances, we blame our children's fathers. We blame bad relationships. We blame our up. It's time now to just let go of all of the blame. There is enough blame to go around, and really start looking at ourselves and being accountable for the decisions that we make, because we can no longer afford to stay in the background and just allow things to happen. And when I say be accountable, we say, oh, well, I'm a single mom. And if I hear that one more time, I'm going to scream, because I'm a single mom. But what in the world does that have to do with my ability to nurture my babies? What does that have to do with my ability to love them, to create a safe environment for them, to create a safe space for them? And we say, oh, well, if this guy wouldn't have left, then I wouldn't have these issues with my kids. My kids wouldn't be out at midnight walking up and down the street. No, that is not the dad's fault. That is your fault. That is your responsibility, your accountability. Is that baby. That's your role. That baby came from you. My mom, got divorced when I was 16 years old. So she was a single mother of 4 children. And never once did she give up on her responsibility of raising us. So it is unfortunate that women have to struggle and try to make it. But at the end of the day, it is your responsibility to raise those babies. And saying, and I'm not going to say excuse, because it's not an excuse, it's a truth. It is a truth. It's a truth that I experience. So I know it is the truth. Yes. Do I have to step up more? Yes. Do I have to be present more? Yes. Am I exhausted more? Yes. But when I decided to bring those lives into this world, that became my responsibility. So whether I had to do it alone or do it with a partner, I still have to do it, because it's that important to me. It is that important that I bring forth life that can make a contribution to this planet. And what that requires is sacrifice. So yeah, Mom, sometimes we have to make that sacrifice, and sometimes it's unfortunate, and sometimes we are dealt a bad hand. But at the same time, we cannot give up on our accountability and our responsibility to ourselves, to our children, to our world, to our planet, to our communities. Okay, so we have got to stand stronger, get the tools and the resources that we need to clear ourselves emotionally, so we can create that space to nurture and to mother and to parent, because it is hard work. Especially it's hard work if you're depressed and you're not making enough money and you got all of these obstacles in front of you. Yeah, it's hard. So I am not trying to minimize anything. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. So I'm not trying to minimize anything. But at the end of the day, it is our responsibility. And that is the only way that things are going to change, is if we begin to empower ourselves and change them from within our own homes, within our own communities. It is not acceptable for 10-year-olds to be walking up and down a street at 11 o'clock at night. Where is the mom? I know moms, you're working. I know that, but we have to get caregivers. We have to make better plans, or even be prepared to walk away from a job that doesn't allow us to be a mother. I know, once again, all of this is easier said than done, but it is where you lay your priorities, and those priorities have to go back into those babies. It has to go back into our next generation if we are truly going to change the planet. So I'll get off my soapbox with that one. And I'll move on to the next one. So the first one, we must free ourselves from the mental, emotional, and physical bondage that we have inflicted upon us and that others have inflicted upon us. It is our responsibility to do that work. Nobody is going to do it for us. There is not going to be fairy dust and magic to just make everything all better. The second thing we have to do is stop judging other women. We have to be powerful enough to stay in our own personal truth, to stand in our own decisions, that we not looking outside of ourselves and judging ourselves based upon what others are doing and judging other women based upon what we are doing. So all of these are steps to reclaiming that personal power, because as I said, reclaiming your personal power comes before being able to exude that power out into the world. I already talked about accepting responsibility for our decisions, accountability, being accountability for our choices, our decisions. I know my mama, every time I go to talking about my kid's daddy, my mama always say, well, you picked him. Okay. So therefore, that was my choice. So now I'm dealing with the consequences and I'm acting responsible and all that great stuff that comes along with it. But we got to be accountable for the choices that we make. Nobody puts a gun to our head and say, you have to do this. This was a conscious choice. So deal with the accountability. I don't even want to say consequences, because when you say consequences, it brings about a negative connotation. My children are the best thing that have ever happened to me in my entire life. So I don't think about it as a negative consequence. I think about it as my personal responsibility. My gift from God was them, and my gift back to God will be them and the impact that they make on this planet. The next one, reclaim and manage our households and communities. We got to get our children in order, our homes in order, our households in order. We've got to reclaim and manage those things. If you're an individual, you have, first of all, you have to understand your personal power. As I said, the woman traditionally, the woman is who manages the resources. So if you have to manage those resources. If you are with someone who is taking the family resources and squandering them, then you have to make some other choices and better decisions. So you have to reclaim your household and not be in this needy state of, I need a man to be complete. I need this job to be complete. I need something outside of myself to be complete. Because when you are able to find your completeness within you, trust me, you will make better decisions. The next one, we have to, women, educate ourselves on the world, humanity, and peace. There is so much knowledge, wisdom, information all over the world. It is so much for us to learn, to explore. We have got to walk out on faith and broaden and expand our horizons. There is so much more to just being a mom. There is so much more to life than going to church on Sunday and the only book you ever read is the Bible. There are so many resources out there. There are so many cultures out there to visit, to travel, to really, really educate yourself. And traveling, those two things are so incredibly empowering. Those are the quickest ways to get your personal power back. Trust me. Believe in your own personal power. I've said this before because it's so very, very critical. Stop looking outside of ourselves. We've got to stop looking for someone to save us. We have to stop that mentality. Those structures no longer serve us. Okay? We need to, and once we are able to begin to implement these changes within our own lives, because it starts at home. So once we're able to begin to implement these changes within our own lives and begin to feel a sense of empowerment, begin to feel a greater sense of self and responsibility, not only for our own microcosm, but for our macrocosm as well, then we can begin to engage in larger communities. Women, start engaging with and interacting in organizations and women all across the world, different groups, things you can find yourself and get involved in that help really facilitate the change in the planet that we need to facilitate it a lot quicker and a lot smoother, that the change that is happening and the change that we need. So we're going to have to, as I said before, broaden our horizons, engage with larger communities, become a part of something. So what you tend to find is that women, after their children, because children, my God, they grow up so incredibly fast. When I look at my son and he's already 16 years old, I have a young man. So soon he will be gone and he will be moving on with his life. His brother is 14. Soon he will be moving on with his life. And happens to a lot of mothers, where they find at a certain point in their lives they're empty nesters. So when they are empty nesters, or even in the ages in their 50s and 60s, and they have accumulated a wealth of knowledge and wisdom and experience just by living, trust me, you will, just by being a woman and living all of that time, it's time now to share it. Be that wise woman. Mentor that young woman who hasn't been there, who could use some knowledge and some wisdom and some information based upon your experiences. Now it's time for you to give to your community, to the planet, to people who need it, to children. Be able to step out and do things other than just, okay, my kids are gone now. Now what do I do? We need you. The planet needs you. We need your knowledge. We need your nurturing. We need your care. We need your wisdom. So step out there and begin to, as I said, once you've empowered yourself and cleared yourself, we need you. So come join us and be in organizations and communities and participate in events and functions to really help us heal collectively. Okay? All right, so those are the things that I had. I'll just really quickly recap because I think they're good points. Reclaiming your personal power. First, freeing yourself from mental, emotional, and physical bondage. Stop judging women. Accept responsibility for our decisions. Reclaim and manage our households and communities. Educate ourselves on the world, humanity, peace, relations. Believe in our personal power and stop looking outside of ourselves. And then begin engaging with larger communities of women who will really change the planet. So as I started at the beginning, I said, I read this book. It's called Urgent Message from Mother, Gather the Women, Save the World. And this is where I got the idea of the topic of the show. So I read this book I would say about 4 years ago. And it was very, very impactful for me. I would recommend anybody who is in a place of doing your work to bring about your own personal empowerment, and now you are interested in moving it forward and helping out in the community, or whatever it is that really that you're drawn to or you're passionate about, where we can use your wisdom, knowledge, and healing. Take an opportunity to really to grab this book. And the author is Jean Shinoda Boland. And I'll actually put this book up, or the title of the book up, on the website. So this is a great book. The title again is Urgent Message from Mother Earth. Okay. All right. And I wanted to also read to you this poem that recaps really everything that I talked about. And this was a poem written by Jean, the author of the book. It's called Untapped Source of Peace. Untapped source of peace. The only real hope is to draw upon collective wisdom of women, those with direct experience of the cost of war, the life of child, grandchild, sibling, spouse, the loss of limb or mind of someone near and dear, the loss of laughter, the pervasiveness of fear, the loss of hope for the future, untapped source of peace. Those who have known domestic violence, seen the effect of bullying on sons, seen daughters become silent, seen light go out in their eyes. Those who know that when every child matters, when none are hungry, abused, or discounted, the world will become a kinder place for us all. I'm getting teary eyed. That's so real. Untapped source of peace. Women with empathy who live in a world apart are safe, loved, and fortunate, yet can imagine being helpless, beaten, and raped, then forced to bear a child conceived in violence. Women who know in their hearts that what happens to any woman anywhere could happen to them. Untapped source of peace. Women who see loved ones filled with vengeance and hate, hypervigilant, fear-ridden, or afraid to sleep because of nightmares. Husbands, brothers, sons, and now daughters, home from wars, bearing little resemblance to who they could have been in a peaceful world. Untapped source of peace. Women in circles, women connecting, women together, bringing the sacred feminine, maternal instinct, sister archetype, mother power into the world. Ah, that was beautiful. I need a moment. Just breathing it in. All right, so with that said, that is all that I have to talk about today. As always, I will share with you what's going on at the Journey to Wholeness Center. And I don't want to say shameless plug, but this is truly a place. I'll give you guys a really quick story. And when I say that this work is my mission and my passion, I had a young lady who came into the Journey to Wholeness Center yesterday, and I happened to be there because my sister, who is the office manager, is out sick. And this young woman came in there. She has 5 children, and her husband last year was murdered. And she has been dealing with the agony and pain, not only of her loss, but also dealing with the loss from her children's standpoint and trying to really keep her children grounded, trying to keep them engaged, trying to keep them happy. They have moments of fear, they have moments of sadness. So, as I said, as women, sometimes we carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. Here was a woman who was walking into the center and just wanted to get some information about our fall intuitive fair. And as we got to talking, she just completely broke down and cried. So the center really is a place of healing because it is a safe place. She felt safe where she could let go of that emotion so she could process what was going on with her. And that's what we need. We need the ability, and men too. This is not just for women, men too, because men deal with traumas. They deal with dramas. They deal with childhoods that were not so perfect. They deal with abuse. They deal with all the same things that we deal with. But the equalizer is that nobody knows where to go to get the help, to get the tools so they can begin to heal from within. So this is a mission. This is a collective mission of all men, all women, and the things that we need to do collectively to change, and it can be done. So I was saying all that just to say Journey to Wholeness Center is an amazing place. It's an amazing resource if you are an individual who is ready to do your work. But it requires you to be ready to do your work, to come in and want to change your life. So with that said, we got a couple of things going on this weekend. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock, we have a workshop, What is Reiki? I talk a lot on the show about Reiki, and it's just the ability to bring in universal life force energy into the body. It is an amazing practice because it does help us remove emotional blocks that we carry within our body that tend to physically impact us. So, if you want to know more information, you've heard of it, and you just want to know more information about Reiki, and if this is a tool or a technique that would help you, then come out to our workshop tomorrow at the center at 1 p.m. At 2:30 p.m., we're going to have a workshop, 5 Steps to Remain Bully Proof. So for those of you who have children, the month of October is Bully Awareness Month. So we wanted to put in or do a workshop to really help our children. So children are free for this workshop. The parents are only $15. So please either send your children, and the young lady yesterday, she's sending her children to tomorrow's workshop. But please send your children or come with your children. But it's going to be an amazing workshop. That's tomorrow at 2:30. And then on Sunday, we have a special workshop called Yoga Nidra. If you're not familiar with Yoga Nidra, it's termed sleep yoga because you are able to really go into a state of deep relaxation and meditation. It is one of the most comforting restorative yoga classes I have ever taken before. So if you are completely stressed out, if you have had a crazy, crazy week and you just want to come and do some breathing and just relax, just lay out on the mat, completely supported, then come to our Yoga Nidra workshop. That is Sunday at 1. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a really big event on October 23rd. So mark your calendars. If you have not been to the Journey to Wholeness Center yet and you want to come and keep saying you're going to come, the day to come would be October 23rd from 11 to 6 p.m. We're having a big fall intuitive fair. It is free. So to just come in and take a tour of the center, to meet with our healing practitioners, we're offering services very, very cheap, $1 a minute. So if it's something that you haven't tried and you want to try it, if you want to try Reiki, it's $1 a minute, or you want to do a chair massage or something. One of the services, try Thai body work. You've heard of it. You want to try it. Most of the services are $1 a minute. So that is October 23rd from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. So with that said, I would like to thank you all for tuning in today and for hanging out with me. I think this was an amazing topic to cover. Please know that everything that I talk about is truly from the heart with no judgment. And a lot of this is based upon my experiences. So I'm not talking about something I don't know about. And I have been that individual to read and study. So I am always, always available if you have any questions or any thoughts or any concerns. Just please let me know. So with that said, thank you for tuning in to Journey to Wholeness Radio on IntellectualRadio.com. And I will talk to you all next week. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.